Alrighty everyone, welcome back. We are now getting closer to the end of The Mandalorian Season 3 as Jon and Dave are beginning to market the Ahsoka Tano series, which by the way is all set and ready to debut by this August, with of course, a lot of other villains coming into the equation like Baylan, Shin, and the actual live-action adaptation of Grand Admiral Thrawn. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that we had a couple of announcements at Celebration relating to the movies, as well as some updated information about both the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, which still to this day are very highly criticized shows, even before they have even arrived on Disney Plus, because they're Kathleen Kennedy related projects, let's just be real. But when it comes down to exactly what's been going on with the Rey-centered Star Wars film, there's been a lot of people responding to the fan criticism, including Kathleen Kennedy, Bob Iger, Daisy Ridley, and the latest coming from Mark Hamill. Now, we know that Rey Skywalker as a whole, or the character of Rey coming back into her own film, has been heavily criticized. In fact, there is some type of backlash being formed going against Disney, and a lot of fans, have valid reasons, because they either do not like the sequels, maybe they did not like the character of Rey, it did not grow on them as much as they expected, and so this is where Lucasfilm is really kind of in a standstill. They're not quite sure how they're going to be able to make this movie work. Now, we know that Stephen Knight is going to be finishing up the script throughout the next couple of weeks, a total of 5 more weeks to go until the script is finished. This was confirmed, by the way, at Celebration by Lucasfilm. However, on top of this, with actor Mark Hamill getting involved in many upcoming Star Wars projects by both Jon and Dave, he recently was able to actually respond more directly with the fans after the recent Star Wars movie announcements and more. Hamill recently responded to the Rey Skywalker backlash and stated the following: "I just think it's unfair to Disney and to Daisy and to those working on this film that has yet to have shown any footage yet. I think many fans are getting ahead of themselves, and listen, I understand the frustrations surrounding the Rey character and how the sequels were handled by JJ and Ryan. I can see that through fans' perspectives, really. But to endlessly hate on a character and an actress' capabilities for the role just is not fair, before the film has even arrived or entered into the actual filming stage yet. From what I have heard, they are doing some very big things with this movie. I was told by Jon and Dave that they too are doing something very special by bringing back Rey in one of their upcoming shows that I really can't get into right now. And from what I heard, from what they are doing alone is fantastic. Just think it's unfair to Daisy, just as it was unfair to Hayden, as it was unfair to Jake Lloyd when they were giving out their performances as Anakin Skywalker. The Star Wars fandom can be pretty aggressive sometimes, and especially insulting to some of the cast and the crew that become a part of these projects. In my opinion, if one does not like a certain character or a story, like Daisy said, it's probably best to focus on other areas of Star Wars then, Hamill says. So let me stop right here for 1 second about what Hamill's putting out there. Now, it is refreshing that he acknowledges that he sees and understands how fans are so fed up and just tired of sequel trilogy, canon and lore, and thankfully, by the way, we covered this many times, Jon and Dave are going to be changing the sequel lore with all the upcoming shows that's going to lead up to that point, so that's great news. But Mark Hamill, he is really defending Daisy Ridley for several reasons. Now, we know that they really got along very well on set, they're very close. Mark and Daisy were probably like the closest cast members on the sets of the sequels, besides Daisy and Jon. But there's a lot of things going on here, given that this project most likely won't have John Boyega as Finnegan, because Boyega wants nothing to do with Disney ever again. He made an oath to never return to Star Wars if, they're going to continue to do what they're doing. But the thing about Mark that really does kind of raise a couple of questions is that it seems as if he's holding back a little bit on, you know, his true thoughts on things. Now, we know that he goes on to talk about more, we'll cover this in a second, about what he thinks about the recent decision to make this the first film of the current slate of movies. Now, we know that Mark Hamill has been in the talks to return in the Star Wars Rey movie to come back as Luke in various ways. In fact, Stephen Knight is getting ready to bring him back in flashbacks and as a Force ghost. This is something that they are prepping with Mark Hamill, so maybe this is why he's kind of talking a little, I guess you could say, you know, overly supportive of this show, or of the movie, I should say. But anyways, moving on. He goes on to kind of criticize things. There are a wide range of stories that Lucasfilm is about to deliver, so I don't think fans need to worry about Daisy or Rey's return if it does end up getting so much criticism. I will agree that they may be bringing this character back too soon. It's only been about 3 years since we released Episode 9. So Hamill really putting it out there that he believes that they may be making a mistake by bringing this character back too fast because it's only been 3 years since Episode 9. I don't know what you guys have to say about that when it comes to Mark's comments about Rey coming back too early. I, for one, do somewhat agree with that. It's really hard to really pinpoint exactly, you know, it all really is dependent on how much the character is going to evolve. If we're going to get like the same type of Rey that we see in the sequels, I think that's when a lot of fans are going to walk away. Given it's 15 years later, you have to evolve the character. This, by the way, is something that Jon and Dave are doing with their upcoming post-Episode 9 series that's going to be 25 years after Episode 9, so 10 years after the Rey Star Wars movie, except their show is not just focusing on Rey, it's going to focus on an established new Jedi Order, whereas the Rey film by Stephen Knight is going to focus in on the development of this new Jedi Order, how Rey is seeking out Jedi across the galaxy with the help of Luke and different Jedi from the past, of course, from the netherworld of the Force. That's the game plan by Stephen Knight right now. That's what he's trying to do. I just think that until we see footage, then we can truly justify things, or judge things, I should say, and it can justify our reasons as to why we're criticizing that. But in the meantime, I still do understand that a lot of fans are upset and very standoffish about this recent decision to bring Rey back, not just in the Star Wars movie, but to also make it the first film of the Star Wars movie slate. Again, like I say, we're going to get more movie announcements later this year at D23, 3 total that are going to center on the Old Republic era. Keep your eyes open for that this fall. There's a lot of things happening with that as well. So Daisy Ridley, obviously, you know, she's been responding, you know, day in, day out about her response to, you know, the Star Wars fandom and the backlash and all. We already covered that. She said a couple of interesting things about the fandom that wasn't so nice, and she got pretty defensive a little bit there, but I digress. I would really like to hear what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you also very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.